Hi, my name is Lotfi and this is episode 5 of the series about relationships. In this episode I would like to talk about mentorship slash friendship. I've had a few friendships where the other person was much more experienced than I was, and that was interesting. And we often have somebody in our lives who's like a friend, but who's also like a mentor, who has the experience and is teaching us like, oh, in that situation you should better do that, and you should do that, and who's coaching us. And what happens is that you position yourself like this. Less. He or she has all that experience and always knows what to do and is really good at almost everything. To the moment you start to see things like, at a certain moment you may grow to have also your own life experience in a certain area or life experience in general. And what happens then? What happens is that the relationship starts to become like, That's one possibility. And that means that you start to make up your own mind and you have your own experience, so you have your own opinion on things, on how to do things, and that may be quite different from the other person, because quite frankly, you're not that other person is not you. So what's best for you may not be best for him or her, and vice versa. And maybe even you start to get more in here and feel what it is that you really need. Not to have somebody else telling your mind what you should be doing so that you're safe, so that you're the best or the coolest. And once you start to listen to what's really important for you, you start to change. And then you're not in the mood to hear anymore what that person is saying, or much less. But that person is like, hey, wait, my cool position is being tampered with. Somebody is killing my reputation here. Somebody is not listening to me anymore. I'm less important. And often people are not even aware of this, but you get friction. And it can be very difficult to change such a relationship, especially if they lasted for many years. And the only thing I can advise here is to stay connected here. And like I said about communication in the previous video, if you talk from here, from your heart, and you say how things feel, the other person is more likely to take it more neutral and to go and see what's actually happening in reality. So, by taking ownership of how you feel, you're going into your strength, but you're also still having an open heart, being gentle towards that other person who, by the way, helped you for a long time to survive in society or in a certain situation or whatever it was. So if you feel you are in such a situation, then take time for this. Another situation can be that you suddenly realize that this person is actually never sharing anything about him or herself. I mean, is telling stories, but is not ever saying how he or she feels. And then at a certain moment, you who got more in touch with your feelings, and it's like, okay, and then you hear something bad happened. It was something, the person built up something and invested a lot of time and energy in something, and then and you can already hear in the voice of that the person is hurt. Because yeah, it hurts if you built up something, you invested a lot of time and energy, and you had big hopes, and then the whole thing collapses. Yeah, it hurts. And then you ask that person, like, hey, how do you feel about that? And then you may get an answer like, Hey, that's life. Sometimes you succeed, sometimes you don't. They may not even use the word you fail. And I experienced that, this exact example, and I was like, yeah, but seriously, how does it make you feel on the inside? You invested so much time, so much energy, and you gave everything you had, and you really wanted the best for that person, for example, because that person was coaching somebody who had a very difficult life. How does it make you feel? And I didn't get the real answer. I was like, and then change of subject. And then communication became much less frequent and almost ended. I was the one who had to take initiative to say, hey, how are you? To call. And when this happens, this may hurt you, like, hey, but we were friends and we were always talking and sharing, but you realize, yeah, it was sharing, but it was sharing more from the mind, from a perspective, from the outside, but not sharing like, I experienced this or that. Then I realized that that person, and most of these people, got so used to always focus on the outside world and always talking about the outside world. And you see this a lot among coaches. Coaches love to talk about other people, but almost never talk about themselves and how they feel. And me, being a coach, I do also experience this, that yeah, it's more fun to talk about somebody else than talk about your own pain and problems. On one hand, because we were not raised to do that. On the other hand, you don't want to bother somebody else. But then, eventually, I do manage. But so many people don't do at all. Most coaches, psychologists, psychiatrists, whatever, psycho something, whatever type of coach, they don't. Or they may only if they do it with one person they see as leading an authority in the field, because they need to keep their image. The rest of the world cannot know, because how can they help others if they don't feel good sometimes? No, everything is always great. That's why people come to me, because I'm always feeling great. Tony Robbins is a beautiful example. Have you ever seen Tony Robbins feeling shitty and sharing that? I haven't. Maybe I haven't seen enough of his videos, because I'm not so much fan of him. I mean, I watched his stuff for a while and I liked it, but the general impression that you get, Tony Robbins, oh, that's that cool, huge guy who's always full of energy, always buzzed, always feeling great. Hey, I have a surprise for you. He's a human being. Means he feels good and he feels bad. He also will die one day. He's not immortal. He's a human being like you and me. And he has shared how he got through difficult moments, how he came out of it. But in those stories, he's mainly focused to share with you how you can get out of it. It's on the how, not as much as like, yeah, I felt really shitty, and he doesn't emphasize too much on that, because he doesn't want to let the people go into that energy, because people just want to feel great, because he's all about, I'm fantastic, and you can be fantastic too. And I also have a tendency that I can see like, okay, this is bad, but why don't you look at things from a different perspective? I'm not saying you're not allowed to feel bad, but there are many things where people are like focusing on the bad things while they also have the good things, and I'm like, okay, are these bad things really important? Maybe not. So what's really important? And that is very, very crucial if you want to be more in balance. You need to accept that you may feel good at a moment and you may feel bad at another moment, not be ashamed of it. And one doesn't exclude the other. These things go in parallel. So yeah, I do try to focus on what's the good, and I do say most of the time, everything happens for a good reason, and that is true. This doesn't mean I will not feel shitty when something happens at first, but then I remember like, oh, okay, but eventually I will see why this happened and what are the new opportunities. Like they say, every door closing means another one opens. I even say one door closing, there's a whole bunch of new doors you can open. It's your choice to open, and you have a choice also in which door you open. So be aware of this kind of relationships that you have. No matter if you are on the coaching, mentoring side, or you're on the less experienced side and you're getting the knowledge and information from those people. I'm grateful to all those people who had more experience than me in a certain area or in life in general, and who shared with me a lot, because I learned a lot and I got to ask questions. How did you deal with that? How did you do that? And yes, it's actually one of the things that inspired me to become a coach myself. But we cannot forget that we are all human beings in the first place. So let this sink in, look at the different relationships you have and see how you can start changing things. And don't be afraid, just do it from here. And yes, relationships may end at a certain moment because, yeah, there is not enough apparently besides, for example, the coaching to stay together. So accept that. And that person may leave your life, partially or completely, and that gives you space for another person to come in your life with a completely different goal maybe. Friends may leave you when you start working on yourself, when you start transforming and changing. Not everyone likes that, and not everyone is changing into the same direction, so people may move away. But then there's space for new people who resonate more with the new you, with the you of today, who can come into your life. So don't run away and start watching another video or whatever. Just take a moment and let this sink in. And look at your own life and your own behavior and the relationships you have. And I'll see you in the next video.